So I've started the recording now. It's okay. I'm Dr. G. Venkatramana, working as an associate professor of English from the Department of Basic Sciences and Humanities. Today, our topic is to create a powerful resume with a covering letter. Uh, Before going into the details of how to prepare a resume or a covering letter, first let us try to understand the need to have that one. To make it very clear, let us take an example that if at all you are really interested to join a company which is there in probably in Mumbai or Bangalore, how would you do it? It may not be physically possible always to go there, physically meet the HR executive and talk about your credentials. So what are we doing? We are doing or we are creating a document or a Word document what you call it as a resume with a covering letter and sending it to the person concerned in relation to that. So it really acts as your representative there for the HR team. So that's the very purpose of the resume. Now let's go into the details of it. I'm having this. Okay, there is always a kind of a confusion in relation to the resume and curriculum vitae, and we should not have that particular confusion at any time, whether the people call it as resume or curriculum vitae or the CV. It's one and the same. So it is only the geographical area where we are talking about in US, where they call it as resume, and in UK and the European countries it is called as curriculum vitae. So you do not need to clearly think of having a variation in relation to the terms. So whether you are calling it as a resume or curriculum vitae or the CV, it's one and the same. So we should not have any kind of doubts or queries in relation to that. And why is a resume so important? The first thing is it really helps you organize your thoughts. So whatever your achievements that are really there, once you put it on a document, then that documents will give you the confidence and the support. And it also clearly gives you an idea like what are the things that you have really done, and what are the scopes that you really have it as far as your career placements are concerned. So it really helps you not only to organize your thoughts. If at all you're not putting it on a paper, you may have vague ideas which may not be fruitful. So it really, first one, it helps you organize your thoughts. The next one, what are the skill set that you have got it. It varies from person to person. Someone is having a very good at programming, and the other one is good at managing things around. So the interest vary, so thereby the skill set also varies. So whenever we are writing a resume, the moment you look at the resume, it really helps you to understand what kind of a person you are. And the next one is, the moment you write that particular document, and that 2 pages document is purely about yourself, and the moment you read about yourself, it gives you the confidence and say make you a feel good factor. And the next one is, what how are the markets around. So if at all you are really interested in Java programming, but imagine that there are hardly very few vacancies as far as the Java program is concerned, and there are better opportunities as far as the .NET is concerned. So when you are preparing your resume, that really also gives you an opportunity to clearly understand what is your set of functional skills, and whether they are really marketable or not. And the other one is, and preparing a resume is a first step which is taking you from the academic institution to the corporate world. So that particular transition also, it really helps you in the process, and thereby it also helps you in understanding your what are the goals that you have got it. And what can a resume help you do? once you have prepared your resume, you can use it. In what context you can use it? The first one is whether you are looking for a full-time job or a part-time job, your resume is required, or you are applying for a scholarship, especially abroad, then it is required. And now the internships is mandatory, where you are, if at all you are interested in internships, that is again really required. And if at all you are really interested to pursue your doctorate or the research, and you want to find a mentor in relation to that, or any eminent researcher, then this resume would help you in the process. And if at all you are really interested in a particular company, like for example, if at all you are interested in Google, but you don't have any references, then but there is a requirement that is really there, and they are asking you the jobs only through the process of references, then through your resume you can clearly give a positive opinion for someone whom you don't really know, and get the references by your resume. And wherever you have job fairs, it really helps you to participate in that. And the other one is to build up your own network. The reason why when we say to build up your network is in relation to your area of research. If at all you are really interested in nanotechnology, and there is some network, or there is some social group which really works hard on it, and which is very valid in relation to that, so you can be a part of that particular group by sending a resume in relation to that, and being a part of that particular member. And I want all of you to please mute your audio. Prakash, please mute your audio. The different types of resume. What are the different types of resumes? There are minimum 4 to 5 different types of resumes, but what is really important, we are just only confining ourselves to that. So the first one is chronological resume. The word chronology means time, whereas the time is a parameter. So you are talking about yourself in relation to the time, like what did you do in 2020, what did you do in 21, 22, 23, in that way, going in a order-wise fashion. So it is, time is a parameter for you to clearly do it. The reason why this plays a very crucial role is people try to understand what is that you have done it in a particular academic year, or during that particular academic years, what are the things that you have really done in relation to your academics. So chronological resume. The next one is a functional resume. Many a time people get confused that the moment they prepare a resume, and they say, okay, that one resume that they have prepared, whether the job is for the software programming or for the marketing or for some research, they use the same resume, which is not the right way of doing it. Because if at all you are looking at a job opportunities as a software programmer, your resume or the style of the resume has to be completely different. But if at all you are looking for a jobs where you are looking at the managerial levels, and later on pursue your MBA, then the requirements are completely different. So you cannot have a one single resume, or just like one single mixed vegetable curry, and whether it is for the dal, for the rice or for the chapati, you use the same, it may not clearly be right. So have different resumes for different functions, or in relation to the different jobs that for that particular matter. The next one is the hybrid or combination resume, where you really talk about what are the skill set that you have clearly learned, and how did you use it, or in what context that you have used it, is the point in relation to the hybrid and the combination resume. But this is not for the freshers, this is more for the experienced people. So as the resumes, when you are talking about the resume of a fresher, we have to clearly confine ourselves to the chronological resume and the functional resume. As we said it, the chronological means where the time is a parameter, when you're talking about in relation to what is that you have done it in a different time, different timelines. The functional resume talks about having a different resume for different jobs, whether it is a software job, you have a different resume, marketing job, a different resume, teaching, different resume, research, different resume. In that way, you have to have a number of variations on the kind of interest that you really have. So before venturing into writing a resume, what is that we need to clearly do it? We need to clearly analyze ourselves. I've given a pic over here where the boy is looking into the mirror and trying to analyze himself. So that is how we have to do it, not literally, in relation to what are the skill set or what are you really good at it, and try to analyze that and carry on with the needs of that particular things. So the broader, I want all of you to clearly draw a table-like thing where you have in 4 columns: curriculum, co-curricular, extracurricular, and beyond academics. So these are the 4 tables that you have to clearly put it, and anything that is related to that, you have to put it in that particular column. So this really helps you in building a very good resume for yourself. So the first one, as far as the curriculum is concerned, any subject or the subject that you are learning it to get your BTech degree, out of that, what are your favorite subjects? The reason why we need to clearly identify your favorite subjects is to clearly know that what are your strengths, and using that strength as an opportunity to get placed. And thereby it is too early for you to clearly think of your mini and major projects, which comes up in the later part of your BTech degree. But there should be an option within the curriculum itself where you talk about that, and the internships and any certification programs that you have done it. And now we have all of majority of you have registered for the NPTEL program, and the moment you get certification from that, and that also would be an added one for that. And any gate score, if at all you someone is really interested in pursuing the gate exam, then the gate score also is very good. So everything that is really related to the academics should be coming up in the curriculum. In the co-curricular means the extra efforts, the little bit extra efforts beyond the academics that you are really putting it to clearly shine in the curriculum. So something like in paper presentations, any papers you have presented in any national or international conferences, be it in the conferences that are conducted by the various engineering colleges in abroad, anywhere in India, or if at all you did not do any paper presentations, and at least the conferences that you have attended. So what are those conferences and details of all the stuff? So when we are talking about the conferences, then you have to be very particular in relation to what is the title of the conference, and when was that conducted, the date and the time, and who conducted that particular event, and at what place it was really conducted. So giving a very clear picture for the HR person to clearly analyze that, okay, if the credentials that you have really put it is really right, or you are a part of I've put it as a language club over here, or any clubs for that particular matter, which really helps you build your curriculum part, then that can also be put up here. And the competitions that you have really participated, whether it is a debate, and earlier we had it a mock parliament, and the mock UN one was also there. So anything like that which you have participated, which should also come up in the co-curriculum. And the next one is extracurricular activities. Extracurricular, if at all you are a sports person, not just because that you are really interested in a particular sports and you don't play it, you watch it in the TV, that doesn't fix out here. You have to be a team person there. So when you are mentioning that you are a member of a cricket team, the college cricket, or the football or a volleyball or something like that kind, then you do mention that. If at all you are just only a spectator, that doesn't really holds any value. And the other important thing is, if at all you are an event organizing committee member anywhere, we do lots of programs in the college. So you are a member of anything like that kind, then that should certainly come up in the extracurricular. And if it other than that, if at all you have done your NCC or NSS somewhere in the schooling, I don't know, in the junior college it might be there for you to do it. If at all you do it in the schooling or within the college itself, any NCC or NSS program that you have done, it should certainly come up here. And we do lots of volunteer services, and anything of that kind should really come up over here. So that is extracurricular activities. And the other, the most important thing also would really be beyond academics. So beyond the academics, what is that you are doing it for yourself? And this is where you talk about your own character. So what is that? The pastime that you do it. No, it's not okay that sleeping is my pastime activity. That certainly cannot clearly be come up in the beyond academics. So anything constructive. So for example, if at all you are really very good at other arts, whether it is drawing, painting, or something like that kind, so that should certainly come up over here. And the music, if at all, whether you are very good at vocal or instrumentation, that should certainly come up. And intensive hobby, and again, as I've said it, just you when you are doing something continuously and repetitively, that should certainly become as an hobby. And anything of that kind should certainly be coming up over here. And if at all someone is really interested in cooking also, that can also clearly be coming up over here in the beyond the academics. So the point is, even before you make an attempt to write your resume, you need to have this particular table with you always. So curriculum, co-curricular, extracurricular, and beyond the academics. And this is what, the moment you write this, it really takes a lot of time. But once you have written this, it really gives you the confidence and tell you what kind of a person you are, and also gives you the job opportunities. And this also would be a differentiating factor, and which really tells you, that you are just not like any other person. You have your own persona. So this is what is the first thing that you need to do it before you venture into writing your resume. Creating your resume. So that is the overall picture that has to be clearly there, and the exact details in relation to how to clearly put your resume. The first thing what is really required is, Wasim, muted. So what is really required is your mobile number or a mail ID. If at all you don't have it, then that should certainly be there. And what are your goals? If at all you have not really thought about to have a goal or the objective about your own life, then it is for you to clearly identify what kind of a person you are, and that's very much important. And the other important thing is not just writing about your goal and objective, it is about your education or the academics, and how well and the way you have done your academics, how consistently you are good at your academics, that should certainly come up over here. And technical skills, how good your programming skills are, or the technical or any technical stuff that is really very good, or where you are really very good at it, that should certainly come up. And appreciation or awards which you have received from time to time, then that should always come up. And any activities for that particular matter should always be included over here. And the workshop or the seminars which you have attended, that also should be coming up. And the internships, and again, when you're talking about the internships, you need to clearly mention the timeline in relation to the internships. For example, if at all you are there in some internships at BHEL, then you have to clearly mention what is the time period. So it is something like a January 1st to January 31st, you are there as an internship, doing your internship in the BHEL. And what did you learn there in the BHEL? A paragraph of that particular things. So that is how you have to clearly plan your writing activity. So okay, work study programs. So any programs, if at all that is really there, that should always be coming up. And service oriented, as we said it, we do lots of volunteer services. Anything of that kind, whether you have the certification or not, that's not important. Certification is not the important point. Whether your experiences that is associated with that particular activity is very much important. And if at all you have a requisite work experience, that should always come up in the resume. So even before you make an attempt to write your resume, apart from trying to know about yourself, these are the factual information that you need to clearly have it before you venture into writing your resume. And do's and don'ts. What is that you need to do it, and what is that you shouldn't be doing for that particular thing? The first thing is, as we have said it, for you have different resumes for different purpose. If at all your job, you are looking for a software job, you have a different resume. You are looking for a marketing job, you have a different resume. You are thinking of pursuing PhD somewhere in abroad in some domain, then your resume is different. So have different resumes for different purpose. Don't mix up that. The next one is, we need to clearly identify, say that freshers resume, the page limit is 2 pages only. You cannot have more than 2 pages, even if at all you are the person who have done extensive research work, or you are the something like a Stephen Hawking or something like that kind. Even then also, if at all you are a fresher, then the maximum page limit is only 2 pages. But whereas an experienced person can have a number of pages, and there is no page limit for an experienced resume. And for the freshers resume, it is always advisable to start with education, because you don't have the requisite experience to clearly showcase. So the only thing that is really there, you have come from the educational institution and you are getting into the corporate life, and what is the immediate thing that is really you have done it is your academics. So talk only about your academics first, then go on if at all you have any requisite experience in relation to that. And when you are saving the resume, save it with your name dot. For example, if at all we have Wasim, you have say save it Wasim dot btech. And if you are from whatever stream that you are in, CSE, IT, civil, mechanical, that also you can clearly make a mention of it. So when you are creating your Word document, the moment if at all someone is asking for the soft copy, even before they open the Word document, they should be able to clearly identify the name of a person, what are their qualifications in relation to that. So save it with that particular thing. But majority of the time people don't do that. They save it as new file, new resume, or 111 resume, 999 resume, something like that kind, which is why very confusing also. And the last thing that you have to do it even before you send a resume is spell check and grammar check. Even if at all you are really very good at language, but it is always advisable to use the opportunity that you have it in the Word document or in the mail option to spell check and grammar check, because it might be like, okay, that you've not noticed that error or typing error that has really crept in. So that's very much important. And these are the do's that you have to clearly keep it in mind when you are writing your resume. Now, talking about don'ts, what you shouldn't be doing it. The next one is, you should not knowingly, you should not give any false information. As I said it, we're talking about you are a volunteered some activity somewhere, but you didn't do it. Your friend has done it. But just because that your friend has included that in his resume, it doesn't mean that you also include and say, okay, that yes, I can also talk about it. That may not really be feasible, because you're talking about, you are facing the people who are very, very experienced. They are very richly experienced. They can clearly identify if at all you are giving a wrong information or wrong fact. So never ever try to do it, even if at all you have mastered the art of trying to give false informations or false facts. Even then also it is not advisable to do it. The next one is references. Some few companies ask for the references, and majority of the companies doesn't ask for the references. So only when you are asked, try to include the references. Don't give references even if at all you know the something like an, I know KCR, I know Harish Rao. All the kind of stuff doesn't really work up as far as your placements are really concerned. So don't really mention unless someone really asks about the references. Don't mention it. And when you are giving your mail IDs, it has to be very decent one. I've just given an example over here where I put an example like a lovable Rosie 18 at the rate of gmail.com. This is quite not a decent mail ID. And go don't you are giving your mail IDs out of your interest for the placements, not a matrimonial site. So some people really have something like an like I am single at so and so gmail.com. Whether you are single or paired, or whether you are 18 or 40, it doesn't hold any value. What really holds value is what are your credentials, whether with that credentials whether you can clearly get a job or not. So have a decent mail IDs. If at all you are having some mail IDs something like this, then you can use it for personal purpose, but certainly not for the placements. and and majority you have to use lesser use of personal pronouns, because many time when we are writing a particular document and you are using more of I, then people tend to consider it as egocentric. People may say, okay, that you are egocentric guy who really is self-centered. So that may be a wrong information that really goes to the other person. So try to minimize the use of personal pronouns. And when you are preparing your resume, it may not always be that you are always getting a, someone is asking you for an physical interview or something like that kind. There might be a telephonic interview. If at all the other HR person is not getting time for the interview or scheduling and the interview process, they would certainly ask for a telephonic interview. And whenever you are the moment you have your number, you have your personal number in the resume, then it has to be without any ringtones. I've given an example saying like Babal Saya, Mardal Saya. Then automatically when you have some such a crazy ringtones and the HR person has called you and this is a crazy ringtone that is really coming up, then they understand that okay, that there is some crazy guy the other side of the line. So that really may not come up with the seriousness which you are really interested in, the part of the career placement. So I hope now okay that do's and don'ts are very clear. Do's, you have to be very make it very clear what is that you have to do it, and don't, certainly you're not supposed to have those things in any part of your resume. And cover letter, many a times what really happens is, for example, if at all your father's friend has come to your house and he said okay that okay there is some vacancy in our company, why don't you give your son or daughter's resume to me so that I'll forward to the HR person. When something like that really comes up, then automatically what people normally tend to do it is they give straight away resume, those 2 pages of the resume which you have really prepared. But any resume which you have prepared or a resume without a covering letter, it doesn't hold any value. So you need to clearly have a covering letter on the top of it, then followed by your resume, 2 pages of the resume. So someone asks you the resume, it has to be of 3 pages, 2 pages of your resume plus 1 page of your covering letter. Only then the resume is complete in every way. And you'll be surprised to know that the time that is spent by an HR on scrutinizing the resume is hardly 10 seconds. That is the maximum time I'm really talking about. So how do you really clearly get noticed in that particular 10 seconds time that is being given to you? So you have your resume have to be complete in every way, giving the necessary information and clearly seeing that you are not taxing the HR person or troubling him to trying to figure it out from which stream of engineering you are in or what is the percentage. So that you have to make it very, very simple, so that the more you make it simple or the more easy you make it for the HR guy, and there are the more chances for you to get noticed or get appreciated in the process. So the next one is gets potential employers in the interest you. So whenever you are having a covering letter, then you are addressing to the person to whomever it is concerned, then automatically it really gives a confidence like okay, this is a guy who is really perfect in every way. Because the normally what people are really doing is they are only giving 2 pages of the resume without giving the covering letter. And as I said it, without giving a cover letter or not adding covering letter to the resume will not make your resume complete in every way. Then you can impress within the covering letter itself, you can impress the person through your experiences or the skill set. We'll be going into the details. I'll give you an example to clearly highlight or to clearly tell you how we normally do it. But what should certainly be there in the covering letter I'm really talking about, the first one is you can clearly give a or create a positive vibe about yourself even before someone is looking at your resume or going into the details of your resume, and impress the person through your experience or the skill set, and also show the kind of keen interest towards that particular company. For example, if at all you are clearly having a soft corner towards Infosys, and you clearly tell the other guy okay that I'm not just looking for a software job, but I'm looking for a job in Infosys. That's very much because that is very close to my heart, and that is what, if at all you can clearly connect during the process of your interview or through your resume, then there is a higher chances of getting the selection. Because ultimately they also want guys who are really interested in their company, and not the guys who just have got skill set and got a job because he had there is no other option for him to clearly join in that any other company. So that should certainly not be there. And the dependable, professional and determined. So through your covering letter, you also have to clearly tell the other guy that you are a reliable person, and any task that is given to you, the other person can clearly be sure that the work is completed in the stipulated time that is being given to you, and you are very professional as far as the interaction or the process of the interaction is really concerned, and you are very much a determined person in relation to that. And certainly the last line of the covering letter should ask for a personal interview. So that should certainly be there during the covering letter. So still some caricatures are really coming up. Some artists are showing their designs on the slides. I don't want you to do it. So these are the things that have to be there on the covering letter. So creating the covering letter. Now let's go into the details of the covering letter. What should be there? Your name and address, the date, and to the person to whom you are giving your resume. In the other example that I really talked about, your father friend has asked you. So there you have to write it to the HR manager. So if at all it is from NTPC or BHEL or ONGC or whatever company that you are really interested in, or to whomever you are giving your resume to, giving clear details and the salutation. And this is just like the covering letter is just like an the style is just like a formal letter with all the subject and all the things. And if at all you have references there, the subject and the references, if at all there is any some notification that has really come up, if at all it's in a government job or public sector, they do mention the notification ID or the details of the ID, then that has certainly has to be getting into that. So all this should certainly be coming up in the covering letter. Your name and address, the date and to whom you are giving your resume, the salutation, the opening paragraph, the middle paragraph, and the contact information in the closing. And what should be there in the opening and the middle paragraph, we'll be talking about that a bit later. See the way I'm just giving you an example over here, giving a detail of someone name by name, Rajiv Malhotra, giving it details of the other things. So respected HR team, and see the way, as I said it, the maximum time that is really being spent on a resume is 10 seconds. And now the moment I look at the covering letter of this, I understand that, okay, it's the resume of a by person named Rajiv. And what is the job that he's really looking at? The software test engineer. See that is really in the bold, giving a very clear picture that what is the job skill set or the jobs that you are really looking at. And the next one is that is really talking about is what is his qualification. So BTech from which stream? The ECE. So then from which university? From JNTU. What is he really good at? Then automation and all the kind of stuff and everything in the bolds. See the first paragraph talking about your job. The next paragraph talks about your credentials, and third paragraph talks about your curricular, co-curricular or extracurricular activities. Or in your next paragraph, you talk about your objectives or the purpose why you are sending your resume. And the next paragraph talking about that all the credentials are really suited for the job, and there is chances for you to be called for an interview. And clearly see the last line saying that thanking you in anticipation of a favorable reply. See the proper paragraph division. Each paragraph talks about a different theme or a different purpose for that particular matter, and where the time limit is for the 10 seconds, I hardly need to spend 10 seconds time. I just get it the whole gist in 2 or 3 seconds time. Then I'll just keep those resumes which are so structured or which have more made it very very simple. I understand that, okay, that the thought process of the person who has created this resume is also really very good, and I would certainly look for a person to call for an interview and for a personal interview. So that is how you're really talking about. So when your resume is so structured, then automatically there is a very great chances for you to get the call from the employer. I'll just give you a second or two for you to just have a look at the resume once, just only the covering letter. Then we'll go to the next part of the slide. A quick reading, only to understand the different paragraphs that we are really talking about. And you can also notice that the alignment is also clearly there. majority of the time when someone is writing or sending a Word document, they are least bothered or to clearly see that the alignment is really perfect in every way. On the first paragraph ends up at a different state, the second paragraph ends up at a different one. So there is no kind of proper equilibrium is not clearly maintained in relation to that. So that should certainly be not be there when you are preparing your resume. So okay, let's go to the next slide. uh, Opening paragraphs. So, okay, the first one is classified advertisement. If at all you have already seen the advertisement and responding to that advertisement, then automatically you have to clearly mention, as I've said it in the covering letter itself, you need to clearly mention the subject and also the references. In the references, this should certainly commit, like I read your advertisement in so and so in relation to so and so position. So giving it. So the first paragraph really talking about the attention and the interest of the student or the person to get placed. The next one is unsolicited mails. Unsolicited means no one is asking you to clearly respond, but still you are responding. For example, if at all you are really a person from the mechanical engineering and you are really very interested to get into Tech Mahindra or the John Deere companies, which are known for very good at the engineering students, especially for the mechanical students. When something is like that is really there, you are interested in those companies, but you didn't see the notification really coming up. So what you can also do it is, even if at all you have not seen the notification yet, you can send the resume to the HR manager giving all the kind of details. So it really comes up as unsolicited mails. So no one is giving any notification, but still you are applying for the job. So if at all they are not having job requirements for that particular year, or for that particular matter, they are not having the big numbers. They are only having a very small number of recruitment in that year. So they are not really called for any kind of notifications, or they didn't do it. So on the mails that they have really received, so they are really called for an interview, then you get an opportunity to get the things really done. So whether you are looking for an internships or looking for a specific job in some specific companies, so this would certainly help you in the process. And if at all you have browsed in the net, you have seen some placements or some notifications that are really coming up from the company, or it is just like the earlier example where you're talking about your father's friend has given as a referral and they are asking for it. So anything of that particular kind, anything that has to be very clear within the first paragraph itself. So whether you are clearly responding to a classified advertisement, or it is an unsolicited one, or through the web that you have came through know about the job placements, or through the referral. So what kind of, how did you really get through this particular idea of the job requirement? So that certainly should come up in the very first paragraph itself of your covering letter. And the next paragraph, the middle paragraph, should always talk about the desire. As the first point, when talking about the summary of your background or the critical skills, as we're taking the earlier example, giving a very clear picture, like someone has done the BTech, from which stream and from which university, and what is the percentage. So, and what are the programs or the subjects which are really very good at it. So those things should certainly coming up, and the covering letter should give an overall gist of what is really there in the resume. So many a times, the moment you have a very structured resume, with the covering letter, then people will not certainly go into the details of the resume. They straight away, on just by looking at your covering letter, you get a call. So that is how the things really do it. And the next one is the persuasive paragraph. Persuasion means a request mode. It is not that, okay, that I have the credentials and I am the only person in the world who has got that particular credentials, and you are throwing your resume at a particular HR team and asking that you don't have any other option other than me, you are forced to take me. Nothing of that kind would certainly be happening at any time in the world. So it has to be a request, persuasive, irrespective of what your credentials are, how good you are. Nothing of that kind would really be there, subject to you are not persuasive. If at all your language is not persuasive, people tend to say it as the earlier example I was already talking about, that like that you are an egocentric guy and no one wants to have those people around. So the language has to be persuasive. And see the way over here, and resume of Sohan Mittal, the mail ID, and the mobile number. And this is not mandate. It's not mandatory for you to clearly fix to the same style. It really depends upon, as you said it, the style also varies from person to person. It really depends upon the credentials. What are you really good at it? But one thing would normally be common over here is the career objective. That certainly has to be there. And whenever you are preparing resume, don't copy it, download some resume from the net and just only change the titles or the name of a person, your mail ID and mobile number and the address, and proclaim it as your own and do it, and no one would really like it. So you have to spend some time and create your own resume. And once you have done, and that is a lifetime treasure for you. And you can clearly see it, the academic profile, as I've said it, for the fresher, it is education that really plays a very crucial role, and that is the first thing on the top of the chart. So immediately after the career objective, the thing that really comes up is the academic profile. And in the academic profile, you are having a reverse chronology. I said it, the chronology means time is a parameter, where going the reverse chronology means the latest thing comes here. It is he's talking about MTech in 2014, then going into 2012 and 8 and the 6 in the reverse order of the chronology. So that should be the order, and it would always be fine for us to, whatever the style that you really follow it, to have your own resume, no problem. But the academic profile, it would always be fine to have this in a tabular form, because it really helps in simplifying the whole process and reduces the burden of the HR, the person. And the rest of the things, whether it is the achievement, the areas of the interest, and the work experience, the internships, the conferences attended, the papers presented, and after that you will need to have your personal profile, giving the details uh, of your name of your father, and the nationality and all the kind of stuff, the languages known, and some details. And in the end, it has to be like, okay, self declaration has to be there, where the purpose of the self declaration is to clearly tell that the other guy that whatever the information that you have put it in the resume is true to the best of your knowledge. So that particular confidence you have to give it to the resume, to the HR person. And the last thing, whenever you are giving your resume, as I've said it, the resume, it means 2 pages of your resume, 1 page of your covering letter, and within the last page, there should be your signature on the covering letter and also on the last page of your resume. So on your signatures has to be there twice. So even if at all you are giving your resume for someone without signature, that doesn't hold any value. And on the basis of, as I've said it, you need to clearly have the four table wise, where you're talking about writing about yourself or analyzing yourself is the point. So you need to, once you've done that, and I want all of you to clearly create a mind map out of it, and clearly tell you what is that you have done it in the schooling or in education or your experience. And as you are still in the very first year itself, you don't have the experience or the internships and all the kind of stuff, but still you can clearly think of having those things and putting it in the resume. That's very much important. So irrespective of whether you are our focus is not to clearly know that whether you have really done those things now or not, but to incorporate each and everything, whether it is the paper presentations or the internships or the mini or major project or anything like that kind, try to include those things in the resume and make it complete in every way. And I want all of you to send your resume next week, next Saturday. I'll give you 1 week time for you to clearly complete that, 2 pages of your resume and 1 page of your covering letter. And in the covering letter, you can clearly think of any company which you are really interested in. You can just write to the HR manager of that particular company and do it in the just like the way of the letter writing, the way you normally do it, and send it to my mail ID. I will just look at the resume, and if at all there are any corrections, I would certainly look at it and respond to it. So any queries? Now I want all of you to just unmute yourself when you are having any query. You can share your ideas or queries. We will address to that before we wind up our session. Anyone, one at a time. Unmute yourself. You can raise your query. We'll discuss about that, then we'll go for the next guy. Sharon.
Yes, sir. It's a column based template, good sir. Like 3/4 of the column containing your education and projects, and other 1/4 of the column containing skills and certifications.
Yes. Good, Sharon. Any queries that you've got it? Is the content clear?
Yes, sir.
Devipriya?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other person or any other query that you've got it?
Sir, we mention our achievements and all in that, no, sir.
Yes.
Do we have to prove them, like our certificates or something? We should provide them.
It's not mandatory for some, like okay, that you have really participated in a particular event and you have really won only a consolation prize, for example, in some painting competition somewhere in the district level, but you don't have a certification for that particular matter, but you need to have that particular confidence to justify yourself in relation to that. Just because that the other person is not asking you the certificate, it doesn't mean that we can give wrong information. That's the point. Even without certification also you can still do it.
Okay.
And all the CR also, you can just have to have a provision to have, if at all you, because that is beyond the academics that you are doing it. So you, if at all you are a CR, then you need to mention, okay, that I was a CR for so and so time period for so and so academic year. So that also adds value. Majority of the time what we are doing it in our colleges, you are doing lots and lots of activities, but it is certainly not getting into the paper. On the document wise we are not able to do it, but once we do that, then automatically there would be a high chances of success rate. Any other queries? Shall I call it a day then? Okay then, thank you then. Thank you.